Good evening and welcome to Blue Ridge Excursions. I'm Tom Landon, coming to you tonight from Foster Falls along the New River Trail. On our show this week, we explore the history of the Roanoke Fire Department with a local firefighter who's just published a book on the subject. We head to Tazewell County to meet a lady who works for the school board and rises before the sun each day to write fiction. And we learn about rare Chinese dinosaurs on display for the first time in America. Maurice Wiseman was a firefighter in Roanoke for 35 years. During that time, he collected photos, artifacts, and newspaper clippings about the department. A young firefighter recently rediscovered the material and has published a history of the Roanoke City Fire Department.
Well, I've been a firefighter here in Roanoke for 8 years now, and eventually got involved in the Roanoke Firefighters Association. As I got involved in that, I saw the collection of Maurice Wiseman's that was left there at the Union Hall. It kind of piqued my interest. I kind of realized that there was a need to do something for the history. When I took over the website for our local, I got into the history, into trying to put some of the history online, and dubbed it the Maurice Wiseman Project. While I never met him, from what I understand, he worked on the history of the fire department from about the late 60s until probably about 1999, getting images, clipping out every newspaper article that had anything to do with firefighting, and putting them in chronological order, basically what's known today as scrapbooking almost. He died in 2001, and he wasn't able to ever get a book together. And what I have found in all the stuff he's left for the local, that it seemed like that he was planning on plugging into a book. And that's really helped me in finishing his work. I was scanning through the internet and I found a book that's exactly like the one I ended up doing, and that was through a fire department in Maryland. After proposing the book to Arcadia Publishing and they accepted it, I got to work on getting the images together and then writing down the history in chronological order and putting it in the package that is Firefighting in Roanoke. After going through and doing research from Maurice Wiseman, from the library, from Virginia Tech, from newspapers, the History Museum of Western Virginia, several firefighters now that are second or third generation firefighters who have pictures handed down to them from their fathers or their grandfathers were able to let me borrow the pictures for the book. And those images are one of a kind. The first volunteer fire company was the Vigilant Fire Company. They were company number one. The second one was the Junior Fire Company. Then you had the third fire company number three, which is the Friendship Fire Company. The first three volunteer fire companies were organized for the greater good of the community. They each had their jurisdiction. The Vigilance started out and basically ran the entire city. As the city grew, there was a realization that we needed more volunteer fire companies. So then the juniors and the friendships organized. The Alert Fire Company number four was actually organized by the Virginia Brewery. They were actually had their area, which was southeast. But the main reason why they organized was to protect the Virginia Brewery. Each of the volunteer organizations, as they organized over the years, began out of a hand-me-down fire station, basically, or a vacant building that they could use to run out of. Eventually, they got city council to build them a fire station. Fire station number one, not the one we're sitting in right now, but the first fire station number one. That building actually stood until 1977, although it wasn't used as a fire station past 1907 when this station was built. So the firehouse we're in right now is fire station number one. It was built during 1906 and opened February 6th of 1907, which is fitting because today is February 6th of 2007, making this station 100 years old. So at the time you had 4 volunteer fire companies, which were all rolled up into 2 stations that were completely paid firefighters. Fire Station 3 was built at 6th and Roar in 1909, and continued on with horse-drawn apparatus in each of the stations. In the 1880s to about 1900, apparatus got a little bit bigger from just a simple fire extinguisher on two wagon wheels, although it wasn't that heavy, was hand-drawn by the firefighters, to steamers, which carried a little bit of water, but was mostly weighted down by the metal and all the gadgets used in creating the steam for pumping the water. And the firefighters began using horses. They started with one. I believe at the peak they might have had 17 at one given time. What started out as a fire engine pulled by 2 horses, and your ladder trucks were pulled with 4 or 6 horses. With the advent of the automobile, some of the apparatus that Roanoke had was retrofitted with engines. One of those that I know was retrofitted here in Roanoke was one of the first ladder trucks we had. They took a horse-drawn ladder truck, which had 4 wheels, and they ended up adding a tractor to it. We got our first fire engines in 1911 when we purchased 3 Seagrave fire engines. And really, there was not much to these engines. The driver and the officer sat right up front. The engine was somewhere behind them, underneath the bed of the engine, and there was no cab, there was no windshield, and they were out there through all the weather. Later on, around 1918, we purchased several more apparatus, again, Seagrave engines. At this point in time, Seagrave went away from the cab-forward design of the 1911 models to an actual conventional-looking engine with the engine mounted in front under a hood. Still, there were no windshields and the cabs weren't covered. The department doubled in size in 1911. They built Fire Station number 4, 5, and 6. Fire Station number 4 was built on Highland Avenue right near Franklin Road. Fire Station number 5 was built at 12th and Mormon because that area in Northwest was beginning to expand and grow. And Fire Station number 6 was built on Jameson Avenue, and they placed brand new motorized fire apparatus in them, which was completely new to the department. Fire Station number 7 was built in 1922 on Memorial. That station was built with 1 bay and housed a motorized fire engine. Later on in 1950, the firefighters actually built an extra bay on the station, including expanded living quarters above it to house a ladder company. In 1929, you saw Roanoke build Fire Station number 8 in Crystal Spring and Fire Station number 9, which is at 24th and Melrose, housing a fire engine. In 1950, Roanoke purchased several Orens to replace the fleet of the Seagraves. Oren, which was a local built truck, started out as Roanoke Welding Company here in Roanoke. Important firefighters here I guess the first name that rings a bell would be Chief James McFall. He was the first chief of the paid fire department. Early on in the fire department's history, you had two significant fires. The Norfolk and Western office building fire in 1896 and the Hotel Roanoke fire in 1898. And both of those fires taxed the fire department. All hands were there working, trying to put those fires out. Another very significant fire, and this is in more recent history, was in 1985 when the Singer Furniture Company caught fire. Unfortunately, 3 people lost their lives in that fire. I really wanted to do this project as a tribute to all the work that Maurice Wiseman put into collecting the history of the Roanoke firefighters and for all the firefighters who have served Roanoke City.